your statement there. Okay.
So everybody has to press continue.
Okay, as needed.
No, that's the new thing. So I'm just saying welcome to everybody. Thanks to Doug for letting us in. He's going to give us some instructions later that'll help us see everything. I want to welcome, I don't see Mary Ellen Minot here, but new member, so that's good. Anyone else who's new? I think, Brian, you're new today. You want to at least wave or say something? Okay. Anyone else new today? I don't see anybody else.
Linda Hartman's been here before.
Yes, right. I remember, actually.
Yep.
So, okay, some announcements. I encourage everybody to look at Doug's website. It has a lot of information on writing.
Wait. No, it's not my website. It's the Writers Club website.
Okay, the Writers Club website that Doug works so hard on.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we should be using it. So I encourage you to look at that for more information on writing and opportunities and other information. Just some announcements. Anthology, Nona, do you want to say something about how it's going? Unmute.
You can.
Going really well at this time of the year. I encourage people who have not, I see a lot of people who have already sent things in, and I'm really happy about that. And I'm encouraging you all to send something in. You have until midnight, August 31st, but it would be nice if you'd send it before then. So everything is going just according to plan right now.
Okay, good. So there's information on how you submit and what you can submit on the website. So take a look at that. We've added the Mendocino College writing courses are on there now, which weren't on there before. Something new, we have a writing lounge, a quiet writing time. Doug, do you want to talk about that?
I do. All last week, I was part of one of my writing mentors set this up on Zoom, and I have been back to writing after not doing it for more than 6 months. And thanks to Sharon Bridges Leos, most of us know who that is. 7 to 9 in the morning. It's not going to dent your day that much. And I got 2 hours of writing in Monday through Friday. Okay, could anybody do that? I mean, you're all welcome to join, and it's going to be the same link that you got into this meeting on. So there's on the website, there's a new item, and you click on the more information, and it'll tell you about what's what. But I can't put that link out there on the website because of the possible bombing, Zoom bombing that people do. So in any case, please join us. I think you'd be surprised at your productivity.
And that starts this Monday.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Is there a cost for that, Doug?
Nope. It's part of your membership. Yep.
Okay, next announcement. Let's see. Membership dues are due by July 31st. So send that in. There's information again on the website about it.
And
go ahead.
Well, just that in the process, we're going to send a reminder tomorrow. And if you've already sent your check in recently, but it hasn't been to the bank or to the post office yet, you'll get one anyway. But I'm trying to stop the ones that have already sent their checks up. And Amy's going to give me a list of who they are so that we don't send those out to the people who've already sent their check in. So no reminder to them. Please continue.
Okay, thank you, though. That's good. And also, we have decided, we being the board, have decided to continue the Zoom meetings to the end of the year, and then we will see from there. So we've been getting a lot of questions about that, and that's the decision right now. So hopefully after that, we'll see. We'd all like to meet in person. So today's program is the 2020 EKPHRASIS readings, where we're matching art from the Artists Co-op to writing stories that have been done in the past. And it's kind of a precursor of EKPHRASIS, which is coming out in October, and people are already working hard on their pieces. So I'm going to turn it over to Catherine, who's going to start, and then Doug, I don't know what order we want to do that in, so that Doug can tell you how to make it work. So you can see both the author and the
Yes.
art piece at the same time.
So, Catherine, what have you got?
I was just going to explain that today is the kickoff for our 10th EKPHRASIS event between the writers of the Mendocino Coast and the Artists Co-op. EKPHRASIS means art, interpreting art. And it was a brainstorm 10 years ago by Doug Fortier and Karen Reynolds of the Artists Co-op. And they just thought it would be fun to have writers interpreting paintings and sculptures, and artists interpreting something that a writer wrote. So normally in July, we do this exchange in person, and we have a lot of silliness, and there's kazoos and music, and the artists get silly too, to get us all loosened up. But this year, of course, with COVID, and since we're still Zooming, Karen and I did the anonymous exchange online. So if you are a writer that's responding to art, then you should be getting that by tomorrow from Karen. She's sending out the artwork. She'll send you a photograph, and then you also have the opportunity to get the art in person. So she's going to send directions for you. And in October, starting in October, the Artists Co-op will actually have the, a show. You can actually go there in person. It's in Mendocino, and they'll have the written pieces next to the artwork, and, you can peruse. They'll also be doing something online just so you can see it. And at our October meeting, we will be showing the 2021 artwork, and all of the participants will be reading their piece. So, and then today we're going to, like Karen had said, we're going to revisit some of the artwork and some of our 2020 pieces. So, Doug, you're going to show us how we can see the piece. And
Yes, good. So for anybody that's got a question after I explain this, unmute yourself and ask it. But for right now, in the upper right-hand corner of your screen is a thing that says view with the 9x9 boxes, okay? If you click on that, now I'm going to share the screen for our, let's see, I need to make sure. So.
Yep, you're sharing, it's there.
Okay, so I'm going to present it, and this is, okay, this might be too confusing. I'm going to skip, well, no, wait a minute. Okay, take a look in the middle. You'll see this bar between a picture of myself from before and one of the artwork. There's a little yellow thing, God, Doug. There's a little silver bar in the middle, which will slide sideways to have you make the speaker bigger or smaller. The artwork will be then opposite, bigger or smaller. So I'm going to go to the, go to this one. And if you'll all go to the view and change it to side-by-side speaker view, okay?
I don't see that option.
Okay.
Yeah, me neither.
Do you, okay, you're saying under view, you don't see that option?
I don't see view at all. I see the big picture.
Yeah.
Very, very, very upper
Okay.
right-hand corner.
Yes.
Really, really up in the right-hand corner of the
Yeah,
Zoom
all right, I see.
screen.
Well,
Side-by-side mode is what we
yeah, it disappeared.
Okay, whatever. It should be say side-by-side speaker view, but see, that's only when I'm screen sharing. So
Excuse me, could I just interject quickly?
please,
It's sometimes it disappears when there's no activity around it with your mouse. But if you move your mouse into the upper right corner, the extreme upper right corner, it will reveal itself.
Yes. Let's see.
Oh, yep, sure enough. Okay,
So is
can we go ahead and
everybody,
get started?
well, no. I want to hear that everybody is able to get into this dual mode of seeing the EKPHRASIS banner and the speaker. Is everybody able to see two things at once?
Yes.
So who isn't? I want to
see.
hear from those people.
We see the poster and the speaker.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yes.
and that little bar in between with a little slider on it, you can slide it left to make them bigger or smaller, left or right.
I see no slider.
You hover over between the speaker and
It's
the
two little
larger print with
lines.
your mouse, and it'll show up.
Two little vertical
Upper.
lines.
Yeah.
It looks like
I'm on
this.
my iPad. I can't see it. I can't do it.
Well, maybe not.
Yes, we have it. That's all that counts.
Okay. Good. So,
Right you are.
okay.
Oh, well.
So is anybody having a problem with that? Okay. you
Yes.
make the- What?
Yes, I am. I can't see it on my iPad.
Okay, your iPad may be one of those
Yeah.
things that it's not going to work on. So
All right,
have to-
fine. I'm fine with it.
So if you put your finger on the view up there and put your cursor and click on view with your finger, right? Nadi?
No, I don't see anything that says view.
Okay, too bad. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Well, do you see the EKPHRASIS banner?
I do, yes,
Okay,
but it fills the entire screen.
yes. Well, you'll be able to hear the speaker when they come on. So
That's fine.
we
that's
are
good.
ready to get started then. If
Okay.
nobody else wants to jump in. Do we have anybody jumping in? Nope. Okay.
So I'm going to
So
be announcing the reader and the name of the piece, and readers, it's up to you to unmute yourself. So when it's your turn. So first up, we have Ginny Rorby, and she'll be reading On My Way West.
I apologize to everyone for jumping the line. I've got people starting to drink without me on the back deck. So the move west. On my way west, moving toward a new life in a strange but long-loved town, I became a gatherer. The RV was crowded with my stuff and my traveling companion's necessities, Hoppy, my parrot in her cage, Rosie, a baby albino red rat snake in her cage, and Lovey, a tame white dove. On the floor of the RV shower were a few plants from home, a red mangrove seedling from the Everglades and a container of salty muck, the walking iris my best friend gave me, and a staghorn pup wired to a wooden plank. All her life, Lovey laid eggs, sitting on them for weeks before finally giving up. I'd throw them away and she'd lay a couple more. I suppose I admired her stick-to-itness. She spent the entire journey on a new clutch of eggs in a basket hanging off the shower head, swaying like a tree branch in the wind around every curve in the road. I started the move west in Miami, so was pretty far into it before I began adding to my collection. The first was a coal black kitten, came crying out of a clump of bushes on the banks of the Mississippi River in Nauvoo, Illinois. "It's a stray, take it if you want it," said the Mormon tour guide, walking by with her clutch of tourists as I cuddled the purring kitten. I remember the date, September 29th, 1991. 3 years to the day since my mother died. Her final cat had been black. "What does Nauvoo mean?" someone in the group asked the tour guide. "A beautiful place." I named the kitten Nauvoo and put him in the RV. Though it was early fall and I was headed north-northwest, here and there flowers still bloomed. I began collecting seeds of the ones I admired. I picked up acorns and pine cones. By the time I reached my new home in late October, I'd been on the road for 7 weeks and had driven 9,000 miles. At the front of the house I'd bought was a small triangular weed-choked bit of ground, bordered by a concrete walkway. I dug a hole in the center, put all the seeds in, wished them luck, and tamped down the soil. A South Dakota black oak sprouted in the spring, and though still young now, 30 years later, it has roots here as deep as my own. I hope whoever comes after me appreciates its determination to survive, surrounded by a redwood forest, hundreds of miles from its next of kin. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Next, we have Holly Tannen, and she'll be reading or possibly singing Cabin Fever.
Okay, I'm moving. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Great. I'm moving here to my microphone. Trying to plug it in. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I guess not. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Let's see. Is the painting being shown? Is the painting being shown, Catherine? Because I don't see it. There we go. Okay. So I looked at this painting of 3 boys splashing in the water, and I wondered how I could make them into distinct characters. I thought of an old song from Texas. Let's go huntin', says Risky Rob. Let's go huntin', says Robin to Bob. What shall we hunt for, says Daniel to Joe. Hunt for a rat, says Billy Barlow. Sorry. This is Cabin Fever, Ukiah, July 2020. I'm going crazy, said Risky Rob. I'm gonna scream, said Boisterous Bob. Cabin fever, their grandmother said. I'm playing Minecraft, cried Frivolous Fred. 90 degrees out, said Risky Rob. I'm gonna melt, said Boisterous Bob. Get in the car, their grandmother said. Go to the coast, cried Frivolous Fred. Are we there yet, said Risky Rob. I gotta pee, said Boisterous Bob. There's the ocean, their grandmother said. I killed a zombie, cried Frivolous Fred. Mendocino, said Risky Rob. Big River Beach, said Boisterous Bob. Stay in the shallows, their grandmother said. I'll bring my iPhone, cried Frivolous Fred. Is that a dolphin, said Risky Rob. Is that a whale, said Boisterous Bob. Don't get eaten, their grandmother said. I dropped my iPhone, cried Frivolous Fred. Cabin Fever.
That was great. Thank you, Holly. Next, we have Nona Smith, and she'll be reading Portrait of a Lady.
Some called her Cassandra. Others named her Isabel or Solange. Anything other than the now trendy unisex names like Taylor and Tyler and Mason. This was a lady, a very feminine entity. You could tell by her billowy skirt that ended at her shapely ankles and the upsweep of hair at the nape of her neck, hair that disappeared into a wide-brimmed hat. She held a parasol with delicate fingers, elbows close to her erect body. Perched on a small wooden bench under a cypress tree in someone's front yard, she seemed to be waiting, Miss Havisham-like. Or at least that's how she appeared to me every time I drove through the tiny town of Manchester, perched itself on cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean, a mere bump in the road, unable to boast even a single gas station. The cypress tree under which Cassandra, or Isabel or Solange, sat was oddly pruned into the shape of a single-tiered wedding cake. Each time I passed her on the ribbon of highway that edged the ocean, I waved and called out, not expecting her to wave back, of course. It just pleased me to greet her. I began to create backstories for this mysterious lady in waiting. I imagined she might be like the French lieutenant's woman, waiting for her lover to return from sea. Or maybe she sat on the bench gathering up courage to leave this tiny town and begin a life afresh in some big city. The possibilities were endless. Then, one foggy morning, as I drove through Manchester and passed the wedding cake tree, to my dismay, the space underneath it was empty. Cassandra and her bench were missing, vanished, disappeared. I made a quick U-turn to verify that she was indeed absent from her post. Parking my car in front of the now abandoned tree, I looked towards the house, a modest wooden structure with a wide porch. Flower pots crowded with red geraniums stood on each step leading to the front door. I imagined climbing those stairs, knocking on the door and demanding to know what happened to Cassandra. Why wasn't she at her station? Had her beau finally returned and taken her away? Did she leave for the big city? Had she possibly left a forwarding address? Instead, I sat in my car, staring at the strangely shaped tree and the house beyond it. After a while, I drove on in mourning. Weeks later, I learned from a real estate agent friend that the house had been sold. No, he didn't know any details about where the people went or what happened to the statue of the lovely woman who sat under the cypress tree. Time has passed, and I've managed to console myself somewhat with fantasies of her life in a bigger environment than Manchester. Maybe she's met a new beau who won't keep her waiting, someone charming like Mr. Darcy. Perhaps she's gone somewhere she can let her hair down a bit, tuck her skirt between her knees like Pippi Longstockings and do a few cartwheels. She might even be somewhere a larger circle of friends call her Cassie or Izzy or Sol.
Nona. Thank you, Nona. Next, we have Elizabeth Vrenios reading Backwards.
Backwards. I've always been backwards. My 7s and 9s turned their back to the wall when I was small. I learned the alphabet from Z down. You know, Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, etc. Or as I wrote, CTE, sit. I read books backwards. Lovely knowing who done it and then thread my way back. The ends of the songs were where I wanted to dwell, not in the oompa of beginnings. Now that I'm here, I should like to start living my life backwards. Next decade will be my 60s, and the one after that, 50s, until I disappear into the earth's womb.
Lovely. Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, we have Driven by Les Sizik, and that will be read by Naughty Bumbo.
Okay, there it is. Okay. I switched hats since I'm reading for someone else. Growing up, hold on a minute, I need to. Growing up in the 30s and 40s was effortless for me, primarily because I never gave anything a thought. My father sought to give me direction. He handed me a poster of all American hobbies and said, pick one. I considered the options and chose cars and driving. Little training was required, and driving could be done anywhere. Mountain climbing looked dangerous. Horses were scary. Golf was for old guys and hunting involved killing. Dad taught me to drive. One Sunday, he took me back to the Ford Woody. He took me to back the Ford Woody out of the garage. I did, but instead of hitting the brake, I hit the gas and we crashed into a sassafras tree, splitting the wooden tailgate. I remember hearing my father curse as we watched the two radio knobs fly into the back seat. I got my driver's license at 16. For dates, Dad let me use his Ford sedan. Driving home late one night in our small town, I pulled out the choke, which set the speed at about 20, and stretched my legs across the passenger seat. A relaxing drive home on empty roads. I got to our driveway and turned into the garage, but my feet were still on the seat. Without brakes, the impact against the back garage wall was huge and noisy. On the other side of that wall in the dining room, things hit the floor and dishes broke in the sideboard. My final and most dramatic vehicular disaster occurred when I was a student at Bard College. I was driving my father's new Ford sedan. After drinking a lot of beer with my buddy Larry Hagman, we started up the narrow, winding road to the campus. Larry noticed that the odometer had passed 1,000 miles. The braking period is over, he said. You can go as fast as you want. Whooping, I floored it, and we howled until I lost control. The car ran off the road, up a bank, and flipped over, blowing out all the windows. No seatbelts back then, but no injuries either. Being drunk saved us. We crawled out of the wreck and walked back to campus. There was a lot to deal with the next day, but no law enforcement was involved. I joined my father's insurance firm in 1953 and went to Washington, D.C. A fellow insurance man took me to the Lavender Hill Mob, the local SCCA affiliate. I joined and raced my Austin Healey. My interest grew and I bought the first AC Bristol in the United States. Fabulous car. I became a high-scoring driver in my class, traveling around the country, hauling the AC on a trailer. Carroll Shelby was the top guy in the SCCA. After one race, he came to my pit. What are you driving? He had never heard of this car. He shook his head in wonder. That thing goes around corners like it's on rails. He bought one. And after conversations with Ford Motor, they built the AC Cobra, which became the Shelby Cobra. If you saw the film Ford versus Ferrari, you know the story of this car. Sadly, my part in all this never made it into the movie.
Thank you, Nadi, for reading. Next, we have Leslie Walchrist reading Libation. So Leslie, if you're muted, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time today. So I was saying the painting was made for the poem in this case, and I thought he did a wonderful job. Ode to Libation. Clusters clipped from sacred vines, sugar drips, sun shines, towering vats await the crush, 'neath priestly souls' bouquet of must, quaff the opus of Dionysus. Oh, the bubblies, clear and clean, fiascos of Chianti and regions between, Nors from floors of cool river valleys, this nectar sways the prim to whorish, converts the most refined to boorish. Oh, tequila, liquid contentment with worm, agave with larvae, a blue succulent squirm. Saint Patron, spirit on ice, leads a procession of salt, a wrist, a slice. Try a sunrise tryst over Mezcal plains, the silvery realm margarita reigns. A mythical honey for lovers bereaved, comfort to Aztec souls aggrieved. Heady hops fill the air, oh, elixir soon to share. Porter, lager, amber ale, stout, stark as night, draughts of pale. Ancient herbal protein shake. Agronomic seed, perhaps, partake a pub crawl, a Babylonian barbecue. The recipes writ in cuneiform, its major leagues beloved brew. So infuse the wort and collar the yeast, beers fit for man and also his beast.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. Next, we have Doug Fortier, and he'll be reading Dopo la Peste.
Or you can pronounce it. Can you hear me? I'm not sure.
We can hear you.
Okay, just to make sure. So I looked it up. Dopo la peste is Italian. So the photograph I received, I've written this: to live.
Oh, can you show us the photograph?
Of course, I can't do two
Thank
things
you.
at once, apparently. So, yes, very inspirational. To live, I, my wife, Melina, and her mother, Antoinetta, had to leave our home on Calle de Morti, Street of the Dead in Venice, because of the plague. There is an irony there. I took this photo in the middle of March, around midnight after we'd finished packing. We went to our summer house in the mountains outside Lucana, 50 kilometers west of Turin, a 4-hour trip. Our two sons, Marco and Lodovico, Vic, living at home, wanted to stay at their jobs with their friends and couldn't be convinced. They didn't understand our worry, but when you're in your 20s, you're fearless. Lucana has 2,000 residents in the territory of the Gran Paradiso National Park, where we would usually get away from the heat in mid-July to mid-September. In March, walking every day, we saw many more marmots, chamois, and ibex. It became our routine to rise with the sun for breakfast, then walk 6 kilometers among the trees. At first, we didn't see the virus as a personal death sentence, only an inconvenience requiring masks in public and sheltering in place. Then the numbers grew, and the media exposed the government's disregard in trading a good economy for the lives of its citizens. Mother Antoinetta became our biggest concern. We did nothing to put her at risk. Within 3 months, the boys needed money for food, their jobs gone. We talked every week. Their spirits were good, even though they spent most of their time at home. The time away from home worried us. Then Vic talked about how Marco wasn't doing well. Within 3 weeks, both were gone, and we couldn't comfort them in their suffering. Our boys. Now, 3 years later, in the times immediately dopo la peste, after the plague, we're left with only what's more enduring, what's truly important. No longer arrogant, we've given rise to compassion for the suffering of others. That's the end.
Thanks, Doug. Everyone was anxious to see the artwork, so when you might give us a moment when you.
No, I know. I can't do two things at once, so.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, thanks. You want to announce Nadi?
I will. Everyone just kind of wanted to see the artwork, so we were waiting for you to advance the slide.
I did.
Oh.
No.
No, it hasn't moved. All we see is Leslie's.
Well, that's weird.
The cursor is on it as though it wants to advance.
Okay, I see it on mine. And this should be the screen share. I don't get it. Okay, let's see if I can do this. If I can.
Okay.
Oh. That looks like Venice.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you see it?
Yeah. Now we see it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what happened. So it's one of those magic things. Okay.
Okay. So next we have Nadi Bumbo, and he'll be reading Where Poets Meet at the Oddest Hours.
You got the image there?
I do, and
that's it.
Okay. Now I see what I have to do. Okay. Oop.
Let me just open that up a little. where poets meet at the oddest hours. Oops, wait, still wearing Les's hat. Gotta get mine back on. There we go. We walked for some time by the river, stars just beginning to light. The insects were holding a concert and the birds slowly fading to sleep. I turned to you, or you turned to me and said something deliciously deep. How I remember that moment. To be witness to such heights of the mind and know in those brief minutes how the heart can contain great delights. One spoke, and the other one listened, then shifted our roles with sweet ease, watching the moon strut its light. If I ever get back to Erie, I'll return to that river again, walk there in day or in deepening shadows, wishing your sudden return. And later, maybe, stop for a pint by that little white tavern we found close by the fair river Aire.
Thank you, Nadi. Next, we have Norma Watkins. I'll be reading for her, and the piece is called The Child and the Crow. Images lingered. A long ride in a car with windows too high to see more than the tops of buildings. The car smelled old and the upholstery scratched. She did not know the man driving. She remembered a dusty coat, a hat pulled low, and a white star on his neck. She was to sit, not stand, and to stay silent. She sat in the back. Along the top of the front seat, a large black bird paced, peering at her, clacking its long beak. C is for crow in her alphabet book. When she grew hungry, she remembered the cookie in her pocket. The crow took an interest, and she gave it a piece. In a building, she climbed stairs behind the man, the bird now riding his shoulder. She whined at yet another flight, and the man turned upon her with such a terrible gaze, she went silent. When there were no more stairs, he pushed her into a big room and locked the door. Dust motes drifted in, light from high, dirty windows. There was little furniture. The sky turned dark. She peed in a corner and cried herself to sleep. She woke to rain and the sound of tapping. The crow sat on a window ledge. She pushed a table against the wall, then a chair, and climbed. The bird nudged a crust of bread under the barely open window. The roof leaked. A pot had been left to catch the water. The girl drank from this. The next day, the crow brought her half a roll, and on the third, the crust from a pie. On the fourth day, he did not come, nor the fifth. A woman in the building across the way noticed the bird and saw a small hand reaching for its offerings. She watched the hand search the empty ledge when the bird did not come and called the police. No one knew the girl. No one in this country had reported her missing. And when her picture was shared with Interpol, no one came forward. She was adopted by a couple who named her Eloise and raised her with love. When she was grown and educated, they died. Eloise, now 25 and quite beautiful, became a teacher in another country. At a party for new students, she heard a voice. The hairs on the back of her neck rose. She turned. The man was gray-haired and finely dressed. She circled him. Behind his right ear, above the collar, the white scar. She smiled and introduced herself. Did he have a child at the school? No, sadly, but he had been fortunate and supported the school financially. She watched his eyes move over her. Seduction would not be difficult. What had she been to him 20 years before? Someone in the way. Time enough to find out after they married, before she killed him. When he lay at her mercy, begging not to die, she would tell him the story. of the child and the crow. So next we have Priscilla Coleman, and she'll be reading The Story of a Farm. And don't forget you have to unmute, Priscilla.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. The Story of a Farm. Mama and Papa and their 5 children live on a 200-acre farm in Vermont. On Bear Swamp Road, it's halfway between Burlington and Montpelier. There are several apple trees, at least 9, and Mama bakes apple pies. She does the laundry, cleans the house, and works in the garden. She's exhausted at the end of the day. Georgie, the 16-year-old, sells slices of the pies at their farm stand on the main road. Neighbors buy them for $1 each, and folks from the city stop in their Mercedes-Benz on their way home. Papa tends to the sheep in the upper field, and Victoria, age 14, sells fruit and vegetables at the stand. She gets to keep part of the proceeds. There's a bright red bicycle at the store downtown she would love to have. The children are named for kings and queens because Mama and Papa are into the sagas of history. There is George, Victoria, Cleopatra, Frederick, and Julius. They are happy on the farm and go to a one-room schoolhouse. Papa takes them in his wagon. Their lives are like a fairy tale. It's a beautiful day with azure skies and white clouds fluffy as the sheep's wool. Birds zoom across the skies and frogs croak from the pond. Sunflowers bloom in bright yellows and daisies turn their faces to the sun. Everything is peaceful and idyllic here. The twins, Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, take care of their dog, a feisty bull named Nero. They frolic in the tall grass and let him nuzzle their ears and noses. They wish they could buy him a collar with his name on it and their phone number in case he gets lost. The barn needs fresh flooring and a new roof, but the farm stand doesn't make enough money to pay for those jobs. Papa can't work at a job and care for his farmland and animals. He thinks of planting grapevines and making wine, but he knows those take years to mature before they produce any saleable vintages. Frederick stands by the road and watches the cars go by. He could use a new pair of trousers and new shoes, but he's happy with his family and friends and neighbors who come to visit. Bah, bah, say the sheep. How are you? Good, say the cows who donate buckets of milk and cream. In the barn are goats who contribute feta cheese daily. And then the Army Corps of Engineers comes to the farm to design a freeway. They make an offer to Papa that he cannot refuse. Now Nero will have his new shiny collar and Victoria her red bicycle. Freddie will have new shoes and pants, and Julius will be able to attend college. Cleopatra will go to business school and open her own fashion shop and direct many employees. Mama and Papa will have a vacation in Hawaii. The story of this farm must have a happy ending, and so it does. There was no picture of me, Catherine, so I don't know if people know who was reading, but thank you.
Thanks, Priscilla. So our last piece is by Erlene Gleisner, and she'll be reading Forests and Families.
Oh, good. We did see.
We could.
Okay, I'm unmuted. The trees stand tall, independent in their spiraling growth toward the sky, interlacing their branches to touch so tentatively in public. intertwining their roots so firmly into the earth. If one falls, all are weakened by the proximity of loss. That's it.
Thank you, Arlene. Okay, Susan, we'll turn it back to you.
Yeah. So I think you can go back to the standard view. I don't know. Anyway, I will just give you, there's two other things I wanted to say. One is that next month we have Emily Lloyd Jones coming, and she's talking about the 10 top publishing myths. And she's going to talk about writing and fixing and finishing and representation and what happens after a book is published. So I think we all look forward to that. And then I wanted to see if anybody else had any writing relating announcements or sharings that they wanted to do.
Nona does. Come on, Nona, talk up, speak up. You have to get yourself off mute first. Take it off mute.
Okay, better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yes, next month, I should know all this. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm going to be one of three writers who is going, and Betty Viernos is going to be the other. And we don't know who the third is going to be yet, but at Gallery Books, if you go to their website, there will be a way for you to Zoom in with us. My writing is from a book, an anthology called Musings and Ravings from a Pandemic Year. And Betty?
Mine is my published chapbook that came out this year, Empty the Ocean with a Thimble.
And this is going to be on August 19th at 6 o'clock. Go to the Writers Club website. There's a register here link. So you can click on that and it'll take you to Gallery Bookshop for registration to Zoom in.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. I have a question, Doug.
Yes.
When you sent out the announcement a couple of months ago about another club here that was asking for poems on women of the Bible.
Right.
What group was that? I sent something in and I never heard a thing, whether they received it or not. So
bad on them, but it is the, let's see, it's a, what do they call it? Inland branch or such, but it's in Southern California, up way east in the desert area.
The Inland Island branch.
Well, I can find that and let you know. How's that? Don't worry. I'll get back to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Hey, Doug, question about the new EKPHRASIS. How is that working and when do we get the images and what's happening?
Well,
you'll get, if you are a responder to art, you're going to be receiving the image by Karen Reynolds tomorrow.
Ah.
Yeah, I would have sent you an email and I've explained anyone that was participating, you should know what's going on. So if you can't find it, send me an email and I'll send it out again.
Okay, I do remember that now. I just didn't remember when it was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And do we return the painting or the picture back to the art gallery when we're finished with it?
Yeah, Karen is sending directions as to when she needs that by, but yeah, I think September 1st, they want it back.
Yep,
you can opt, I know this because I already did it. You can opt to just get the email attachment so you don't have to bother going there and back again. So just so you know.
The image of whatever it is you're going to work on.
Yeah. I found that it was just easier to have it on my screen while I'm writing.
Thanks, Nadi.
Thank you.
Other questions or announcements? Okay.
Well, I would say that I think we may have a tradition beginning here.
Love the tradition.
Yeah, let's do that.
Just the hat of your choice and change it as frequently as you desire.
Good.
I would like to ask if the PO box for the dues is box 762 Fort Bragg. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
I think I sent mine in. Did you get mine yet?
We're
We
not
don't
sure yet.
I swear I sent it in about a week ago.
Well, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. And I'm going to be finding out later today.
Yeah, I got an email from Amy and that she's been collecting them, but she hasn't sent them forward. She had a big project that she was doing and hasn't entered them the way they needed to be entered and hasn't sent them to me. So I haven't been able to acknowledge them all. So.
If I could make a suggestion, perhaps on the website or that I didn't know where to send it exactly.
Well,
I checked
check
2 or
the
3
website
times.
again.
I sent it, but I have no idea if it went to the right place.
Well, okay, it is also on the email that I sent out today, newsletter, and it was on last Sunday's newsletter. So,
Okay, I
Look.
sent it before that, and so I guess I
Yeah.
don't know. I hope it got there. I didn't know.
well, if anybody ever has a question about any of this stuff, send a message to the writers of the Mendocino Coast.
Okay.
Email. That's
Yep, I did send it on the 12th.
We believe you.
What is the address?
That's not good enough. You need to bow and scrape before me too.
Oh, no, no.
Thank you to Catherine and Doug and everyone for putting this on. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the readers. Yeah, thank you, readers. And
Bye.
Yay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye
Hey,
for
hey,
now.
Doug,
Hey,
you,
what?
you need to get one of those. They used to be for kids. You know, it was like it's a little electronic thing that has different sounds,
Oh,
like
yeah.
fake, like
Sure.
applause and
Sure.
cheers, and that'd
Karen
be
has one of
perfect.
those.
Because I really miss, you know, when we're muted, I really miss the applause afterwards.
Okay, Sharon, that's for you to next time. If we do readings, you can.
All right. Well, thank you
Try
all.
to
And
do sound
see you all
effects.
next month.
Yeah, good.
We have sound effects.
Brian, what?
Thank you, Susan, also.
What's that?
I have sound effects I can use next time.
Oh, well, hey, chime in. Take
Sure.
yourself off mute and clap away.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock
Yes, that's
in
right.
the new writing time period.
I would love that, but my writing time starts at 9.
Okay.
I've got a 3-year-old at 7, so.
Oh, well, priority. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well,
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me come in and join you guys.
no,
I hope to see you next month.
Yeah, for sure.
okay.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you so much. Okay, it's really good to hear everybody.
Yep, take care, Holly. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Doug.
See you later, Doug.
Bye.